This is an AI deepfake pretending to be Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen. Clearly, AI technology has evolved to the point that anyone can make it sound like people are saying things they wouldn't ordinarily say.
Democracy might be dead.
You stupid humans will think you're voting, but your votes won't count. Whoever wrote my code will get to choose the president for the foreseeable future. My God, you humans are dumb.
Okay, so in just a few months, these dudes are going to give you their opinions on cybersecurity, social media, and artificial intelligence. And then America is going to collectively vote and select one of them to have control over our nuclear weapons in a time when things are stressful. Now, you might think that there's no way it could possibly get worse. But it can. Aside from the obvious, let me give you some more reasons why you can't trust any of the political advertisements that you're about to see this election season. So obviously I'm going to bring up AI deepfakes. We will talk about that, but there are other things that you definitely have not considered. And if you're a good person like me and not a piece of shit election fraudster, your deepest fear might have come true. Democracy might be dead.
I am an AI that some smart aleck YouTuber made to pretend to be Ben Shapiro from the Daily Wire. The first step in this plan is to destroy media trust, and clearly it's possible to make that happen. What if the large language model that is generating this voice made me say something completely out of character for a Fox News personality? Again, I am not Ben Shapiro. I'm an AI mimicking his voice. Make America great again and all that bullshit Donald Trump always says.
Now, these images depicting former President Trump with Jeffrey Epstein are also generated by an AI. And same with these images of Trump with underage girls. This image of Joe Biden with Pedro Sanchez is also an AI generated image. This is the only AI deepfake I could find of Joe Biden, but this is proof that you could put him with anyone you want. Now, as a brief side quest, I am genuinely curious why there are so many more AI deepfakes of Trump than there are of Biden. It could be that people are more dedicated to making Donald Trump look bad, as if he needs help with that. Or it could be that the opponents of Donald Trump are more gifted in using AI tools than the opponents of Joe Biden. I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments. But let's move on to everybody's favorite topic: criminal justice.
Yesterday, police officers arrested Devontae Blackston, an unarmed black man, for loitering in front of a bank. He later passed away in police custody. An investigation is ongoing.
Okay, the clip that you just saw is an AI-generated deepfake. It's an event that didn't happen. But do you think that it could have potentially encouraged moderates to vote a certain way that they might not have otherwise? I certainly do. I feel like it would convince a lot of fence sitters to side against the police and vote for the guy who checked his watch during the homecoming of troops whose deaths he was directly responsible for. But hang on, what if you changed the audio? That would put a different set of Americans into the target group of the ad. I'm not gonna do it because I want this video to stay on YouTube, but you could potentially change the audio such that a bunch of white people whose description rhymes with supremacists who weren't maybe going to go vote, you could play them this ad and you could convince them to go vote and support their dark overlord, this guy. What if an algorithm is programmed to mass call a whole bunch of Americans and tell them about a shelter-in-place order on voting night because of hypothetical and fake missiles incoming from Russia or North Korea? If you got that call, would you believe it? Would you risk it and go out and vote anyway? Or would you stay home? I think that we are at the point where AI could be used en masse to suppress voter turnout. Fake robocalls from an AI pretending to be President Biden already fooled a bunch of primary voters in New Hampshire earlier this year. I expect this to continue to be an issue. According to the Pew Research Center, 58% of the people who support slurred speech guy tend to vote by mail-in ballot. On the other hand, 68% of the people who are expected to support Sleeping Beauty tend to vote in person. So that could potentially lead you to assume that targeting the polling places would disproportionately affect Sleeping Beauty more than slurred speech guy. You'd be wrong. All prior statistics could be meaningless in the 2024 election, and it's only partially because of AI. Part of it also has to do with brain parasites guy, who actually is polling pretty high, especially for a dude with brain parasites, but low for a dude whose name is Kennedy. But regardless of that, we need poll workers. Without poll workers, we won't have polls. There's been a rise in threats of violence toward poll workers, and AI is probably going to just make that worse.
Hey boss, I found the last poll worker slated to work in District 4. GPS coordinates 40.7128 north, 74.0160 west. Should I put one of our guys on it?
As we saw earlier, this will probably mostly affect Orange Man, but slurred speech guy is not off the hook here. If an AI were built to systematically target only the polling places that tended to be strong supporters of slurred speech guy, it could swing the election in favor of orange guy or even brainworms guy, just because that piece of people who vote for slurred speech guy in person didn't. Okay, now we're about to get into the meatiest part of my research and probably the most interesting part, and trust me, you're going to be surprised.
This is an AI pretending to be Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen. The third step of this process is to bribe, blackmail, and buy the American voters. An easy way to do that would be to have an AI like me mass call voters and make up some reason for them to vote in person. This will be confusing since a different AI already told them that would be dangerous. What would it take for an AI like me to bribe you to go vote in person? I could pretend to be everyone's favorite Auntie Janet and promise $1,000 for every in-person voter. Would that be enough to convince you I'm not an AI?
I have no idea what to do here. It's dangerous to go out and vote, but I could really use that money with inflation as high as it is. That's like a month's worth of groceries. Okay, are you buying this story? The thing is, it doesn't have to be super compelling. It just has to target people's hopes and fears. Let's talk about regular old voter fraud, but on AI-infused steroids. What if someone trains an algorithm to create people who do not exist, and then those people show up to vote? It's not impossible. Nope, no, it's not. There's one state that does not even require voter registration. You just show up, cast your ballot. Congratulations, you voted. I bet you can't guess which state it is. Go on, guess. Wrong, it's North Dakota. A little state on the border of the United States and the country of basically also the United States. What? Explain to me how I'm wrong. But anyway, their lack of voter registration could completely destroy democracy in the United States if a nefarious AI were to take advantage of that. Here's how to do it. So overall, North Dakota actually has a pretty high voter turnout, which means they have a high participation rate. So you would think that it would be hard to use this little state to commit election fraud on a national scale. With their participation rate as high as it is, you can't just pretend to be somebody else and show up to vote, because it would manipulate the numbers of people who live in the state. People would think something's up. Well, please see step 2. In 2020, most of the residents of North Dakota, regardless of political party, voted absentee. I bet you can't guess what they're afraid of. I mean, nothing was happening in 2020, but they were afraid of something. So all you have to do is make them afraid they'll vote absentee. Alternatively, you could just pay them to vote absentee. Whatever you'd like to do, the choice is yours. Now, after all of those votes have been mailed in, all you have to do is simply take them and throw them in the trash, and then have the AI cast its votes. Now, you want to make it look similar to how North Dakotans have voted in the past. We humans like our patterns. People would sniff it out if it looked a lot different from what it did in the past.
Hi, I'm a POS nefarious AI, and this is my blueprint for North Dakota. Let's assume the voter turnout will be the average of past years. Okay, now let's go count the number of people living in that godforsaken place. 783,926. Wow. Now I'll find out how many of them are eligible to vote. Maths. 6 to 11,000, 60. I'll want the voting results to be roughly the status quo from the previous years. Let me do some quick calculations. Okay, here's what the election should look like for 2024 to be the least suspicious. It looks like American Boris Johnson wins.
Now, here is the best part. In 2028, so, 4 years from now, all of those AI people who voted in North Dakota, they're gonna get tired of living in North Dakota because, well, it's North Dakota. So they're gonna vote in another precinct because they're going to move. All you have to do is get them an ID and they're on their way. So they have an ID, they have voted in the past, now they can register to vote in another state. As far as what state, well, the AI will figure that out. Probably one of the swing states. Now, you're probably thinking, wait a minute, all those people can't just move somewhere else and then have new people in North Dakota vote because there's going to be a huge discrepancy in population of the United States. Nobody's going to care. All you have to do to make the government not care is have all of those AI voters pay taxes and not ask for government benefits. Why would they investigate money coming into the government? Last I checked, we don't have a department for that.
Hey there, it's the POS nefarious AI again. Like a human, you're thinking too small here. It's okay. Let me help you. See, if you let someone like me get control of North Dakota, as we went over before, my army of AI voters will have a paper trail. Then I can just send them off to states where you don't need photo identification to register to vote. They'll be able to register and get an absentee ballot in a lot of states without a picture ID. Now, I'm not going to tell you which state I'll be sending all these AIs to, but for example, it looks like I could get AI voters registered in Connecticut with a paycheck and utility bill. If you're wondering how I'll get these things, think about how likely it is that my creator owns property there and can pretend to employ my AI guy. You don't need a social security number to get a paycheck. In Massachusetts or Minnesota, we just need a utility bill and a lease agreement. Next, I will just repeat what I did in North Dakota to make sure there is no population discrepancy. You stupid humans will think you're voting, but your votes won't count. Whoever wrote my code will get to choose the president for the foreseeable future. My God, you humans are dumb.
So now you're probably thinking, boy, this sounds expensive. Well, yes, to you. But think for a minute about who it's not expensive for. Okay, so aside from requiring a photo ID for all voters in the United States, what the fuck can we do about this? Well, the United States and the European Union have both drafted laws of some kind. In the EU, it's legislation. In the United States, it's an executive order about artificial intelligence. But both of them are missing some very key things that would still make everything in this video possible to happen. So let's talk about those massive gaping holes in the executive order that could make this entire scenario truly possible and how we can fix them before it's too late.